Am I the wrong one for not giving my brother and his wife any privacy? My brother lost his job along with all his savings several months ago, and soon after he asked me if it would be okay if he, 28 years old male, and his wife, 30 years old female, stayed with me until they could afford their own place again. I hesitated at first, considering I only have a one-bedroom apartment, but according to them they had no other option, so of course I invited them over and bought a blow-up mattress for the living room. For the first month things were manageable, although admittedly cramped. Then my brother told me that sleeping on the mattress was giving him back pains, so he asked if he could buy a small double bed for the living room. The living room is by far the biggest room I have, so I told him that would be fine as long as there was still room for my couch/TV/bookshelves. The living room is also connected to my kitchen in an open plan style, so I reminded my brother to leave walking space around the bed. It's now been 2+ months and things have gotten a lot worse. When they first moved in, I would still use the living room every day to unwind on the couch after work. Now whenever I go in, there's a strange vibe like I'm intruding. My brother and his wife are often sitting in bed together when I go in. I always knock, and stare at me pointedly until I leave. Sometimes when I sit down they will directly ask me for some alone time and say they would like the room to themselves. This came to a head yesterday when my sister-in-law messaged me with a timetable she'd made of when it would be a good time for me to use the living room. The timetable basically says that they will allow me into the room for an hour each evening, plus 20 minutes around mealtimes. I basically shut her down instantly and told her there was no way I'd be following the timetable since in the end it's my apartment. She sent me back a huge message with a dozen paragraphs about how my constant presence was ruining her marriage with my brother and they feel like they have no privacy. I tried to talk this over with my brother that night, but when I got home neither my brother/Sil were talking to me, so he's clearly just as pissed. Today an Amazon parcel arrived for my brother with a lock for the living room door, which I told him there's absolutely no way I will allow him to install. My brother says I'm creepy for wanting constant access to where they sleep and he's insisting on installing the lock anyway. Am I the wrong one for not giving my brother and his wife their privacy? Not the wrong one. I would totally give them 2 weeks to vacate if they are going to be like this. It's too much. Edit. Thank you for the awards. They are my first ever on Reddit. A few points people have mentioned. Look into your state's tenant/landlord laws. If they have been with you X amount of days/months, they may have legal rights depending on if you own or rent your place. You may be required to give them notice for a certain period of time. In my home state, it is 7 days. Disclaimer, I am not giving legal advice as I am not a lawyer. I would hit up the legal advice subreddit though. Some of those folks may be able to give you more specific advice. Not the wrong one at all. Are they forgetting that they are living at your place, and you are doing them a huge favor? Do they even pay rent? Due to the disrespect alone, I would tell them that it isn't working out. If they want the privacy, they should get their own place. Am I the wrong one for mansplaining vaginas to a woman? This happened a few months ago, but my brain won't let this one go. So I was hanging out with some friends, 2 guys, 1 woman. We're all in our early 20s and have had our fair share of romance in life. The topic of sex popped up and we start talking about some of our past experiences. One guy joked about how having sex only made his dick bigger and bigger. We all laughed and he said that he wished that's how it works. My female friend, let's call her Sarah, piped up and said yeah, for women, it's the complete opposite. The more sex you have, the bigger your labia gets and the looser you become. There were some chuckles, but then I asked her if she was serious. She said she was. Now, this is a big myth. I was surprised a woman who has had some experience actually believes that. I basically told her this, and then she started getting annoyed, asking how me and my dick knows about that. I said the same way I know anything about female anatomy, I've read up on it. The whole women get looser thing is something sexist dudes made up to slut shame women. My other friends were silent on this. She then just said, whatever, I'm not in the mood for your mansplaining. So I'm at a loss here. Am I the wrong one for explaining something that I feel like people should just know about? Not the wrong one. As a woman, I'm asking you to please keep telling it to the girls who don't know. Women need to understand their anatomy. Sorry, pet peeve of mine. Not the wrong one. You're right, she's not. Simple as that. Just because you know more about female anatomy than she does doesn't make it sexist. I always took mansplaining as a guy automatically assuming a woman knows less about a topic because of her gender. I've had this done to me over computers parts before, and it drove me nuts. However, you weren't assuming her knowledge based on her gender, you were correcting her on something very wrong, and as you said, pretty sexist. I don't see anything wrong there. Am I the wrong one for telling my sister I don't trust her to watch my son? I'm a 19-year-old man with a 3-month-old son. His mother surrendered her rights and is no longer in the picture. I work 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. at a gas station and I raise my son. That's what I do these days. Only one of my friends still speaks to me and hangs out with me. I live at home with my parents and sister, 21, and pay a small rent each month. I can't afford to move out with the baby. My parents help me when they can. My sister doesn't like my son. She once told me she thinks he's an annoyance and hindrance. If he cries, she complains. If there's baby clothes in the laundry, she complains. Basically, the baby exists and that pisses her off. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best to be a good dad. My sister has never offered to help with the baby beyond holding him briefly, and she hasn't done that more than about 4 or 5 times since he was born. The other day my friend called and offered me a really great opportunity for some side work. He works construction and they needed an extra guy for some installation work. 4 hours and I'd get $400. Oh, I jumped at it. Any extra money can only help. I started trying to find a babysitter. My sister was hanging out in the living room while I walked around the house on the phone. I managed to find a sitter who said she didn't want to be paid and went to get the baby ready. My sister asked me why I didn't ask her when she was sitting right there. I told her I didn't think she'd want to since she'd never offered to help before. She told me it was different. This was for work and not just me wanting to sleep or whatever, and he was about to go down for his nap and he's pretty easy when first wakes up. She told me it wouldn't be a problem. I asked her why she didn't say something between phone calls and she said she didn't think she needed to because we're family and family asks each other for help. I reminded her of all the times she'd complained about the baby and me and called him names and told me she waited he'd never been born and asked her why she thought I'd ever trust her with my son. She started crying and told me that wasn't fair and I needed to remember that the whole house was dealing with a baby and she was just having a hard time adjusting. But she'd never do anything to hurt him. I told her she should have spoken to me about her feelings instead of acting like a child. Took my son and left. When I got home, both my parents set in on me because my sister told them I'd accused her of bad intentions to the baby. Am I the wrong one for being honest when my sister offered to babysit? ETA, apparently God is on my side right now. The lady I mentioned in the post who babysat my son for me. She goes to church with my mom, and when I dropped my son off I explained that I was having trouble finding a sitter or paying for daycare. She called the pastor and explained the situation, and 2 days a week my son can attend the church nursery school from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. for free. And the lady has offered to take my son 1 day a week during the same time frame and has also found another lady who will take him for 1 day a week, same time frame. The ladies both requested $50, which I'm happy to pay. That means there's only 1 day a week and 3 hours in the mornings that I need childcare, and my mom has agreed to watch him for the 3 hours and drop him off. I still have to figure out Fridays, but Monday to Thursday are covered. I can breathe again. Not the wrong one. She only offered because she thinks she'll be paid. Your instincts are correct. With everything she said about your son, she'd be the very last name on the list. Remind your parents of the comments she's made. You have no reason at all to trust her when it comes to your kid. ETA, thinks she'll be paid as she heard brother offered to pay even though she declined payment. Not the wrong one. Kudos to you, OP, for busting your ass to be a good dad. Your sister clearly has issues with your kid, so her watching him for an extended period, napping or not, seems like a bad idea. You did the right thing. Am I the wrong one for keeping a $300,000 prize to myself when I originally planned to share it with my boyfriend? My 26 years old female boyfriend, 27 years old male, is really into cars. He recently discovered a charity project where they fixed up an old Jaguar. It's worth around $300,000. You could buy a ticket for $50 to enter and the money went towards a good cause. My BF is broke at the moment, so I offered to go halves with the ticket. He didn't want to because then the car wouldn't be his completely. I wasn't too worried about it and didn't mention it again. I did however buy a ticket for myself. Well, I won and as of August 1st will be the owner of the car. When my boyfriend found out, he was really excited until I told him that I was going to sell it and put half of it in my savings and invest half of it. He said I can't sell our car without consulting him. I told him it's my car and I can do whatever I want. He now claims it was all a big misunderstanding and apparently he wanted to go halves, but hasn't got around to giving me the money yet. I call BS on it, but he keeps saying that we're a couple and we should make decisions together. Am I the wrong one for going ahead with the plan to sell the car and keep the money to myself? Edit. I broke up with him. Not the wrong one. You dumped his ass. No misunderstanding. He didn't want to front the $5 to split the ticket and now he is trying to manipulate you. Not the wrong one. I intended to invest in Apple in 1976, but I haven't gotten around to it. Give me money. Am I the wrong one for cutting up and altering my wedding dress into a functional dress instead of giving it to my sister who can afford an expensive dress? I need an unbiased opinion on this because I don't know if I was the a-hole. Throwaway because I am active in other communities and I don't want this to mix. So I was supposed to get married 2 months ago to my ex-partner of 0.5 years. Sadly we broke it off because he cheated on me on his bachelor party with a stripper. I had this beautiful dress that cost me around $2,000 out of my pocket. I had been very depressed since everything happened because I felt it was somehow my fault for not being sexy enough or not giving him what he wanted. So last weekend I decided to take my power back and I began altering the dress. I have been sewing for 0.5+ years so I know what I am doing. I cut it a bit, changed the color to something less wedding way, and after a week of work I had a beautiful gown that I could use for more stuff. The problem comes now. I uploaded that picture of the dress to Instagram with a caption that said something along the lines of "you can change the worst memories" or some crap like that. My sister hits me up and asks me if that was my old wedding dress and I told her yes. She then called me and asked me why I had done this. I asked her why it was such a big deal. And she told me that I could have waited till after his wedding. I was so confused. Then she reminded me that when we were staying at the hotel where my wedding was supposed to happen, my mom and sister were there cheering me up and my sister said something along the lines of "oh well, if you are not using it I will." We all laughed, so I thought it was a joke because it was never brought up again after. She just asked me once what material it was, so I assumed she wanted something similar. Now my sister is mad at me and my mom says she understands our povs, but that I could have waited 0.5 more months still after her wedding to take my power back. Am I the wrong one? Edit. Yes, he screwed the stripper, please stop asking me. Edit 2. What the F is wrong with some of you? Suddenly I am the a-hole for leaving my ex for cheating on me because it doesn't count because it was his bachelor party? Do you know how relationships work? Are you also going to tell me that if he cheated on a Saturday it wouldn't count? Or if he left the country? This is hilarious coming from a sub that says cheaters are the worst people in this world. Cheating is cheating, period. Not the wrong one. I think it's pretty insensitive for your sister to expect to use your wedding dress. She needs to consider how painful it would probably be for you to sit at her wedding and watch her walk down the aisle in the dress you were supposed to wear for your wedding, which then turned into a terrible memory. You do what's best for you, and you should feel proud of yourself for reclaiming your power and turning the dress into something new and positive for you. Not the wrong one. Wear the dress proudly, you fabric whisperer. It always low-key blows my mind when family members assume that blood has the same purchasing power as cash and/or skill. Nah, Becky, I made this happen with my money, and then I made it happen again with my hands. Shoo shoo.